4.
Perfect.
So we're
okay.
about good day, everyone. We're learning now the Maamar. Yeah. I see. The heading over here in this sefer says Matoivu Elecha Yaakov in the header, but it's not right. The Maamar is Kol Hamayirich Be'echad. That's why I got confused.
Yeah,
anyway,
I was also confused, but now when you say it, then it's
okay. So we learned yesterday that the pasuk says Shemesh u'mogein Hashem Elokim, just as the sun and its cover, so is God our God. Chassidus explains this. It's not just poetry, but it explains the way Hashem creates the world. And that is, just as the Shemesh, the mushal, the parable, the analogy is, just as the sun must have a cover, a shield, for it to be effective. Otherwise, it would be too strong for the world to receive, and it would burn the world. But nevertheless, so it has a cover that dims the light of the sun, making it accessible and beneficial for us. Nevertheless, what is it that's benefiting us and helping us, as said in the Torah? The sweetness of tfuah comes from the sun, and the sweetness of cucumbers comes from the moon. So we see there's an actual benefit to the sunlight and the moonlight coming through its cover, its nartik, its shield. Nevertheless, what is it that we're getting? It's the sun. It's a ray of the sun, but it's not a ray of the shield. The shield is Helem. The shield conceals. And if we take for another mashal, for example, a teacher who teaches, a Rav and a Talmud, Chassidus is known to bring the mashal of Rav and Talmud very often. The Rav, if he were to teach the students the way he himself understands on his level, it would be overwhelming and the students wouldn't benefit. So what does the teacher do? He dresses up his information. He conceals, he hides. But at the end, that amount that is communicated to the student, it's his knowledge, the Rav's knowledge. If it were to become student's knowledge, it wouldn't be beneficial. It's the Rav's knowledge. It's the Shemesh. It's the sunlight that helps us vis-a-vis a cover, but it's the sunlight. So the Rebbe says, so too is Hashem Elokim. Creation, Bria, is from Yud Kei Vav Kei. The word Yud Kei Vav Kei is pronounced Havaya. Havaya. What does the word Havaya mean? Lahavois. To create. Not to sustain. Not to vivify. Vivify, the Hebrew word is chayis. Sustain, the Hebrew word is kiyum. And here we use a word Havaya, Lahavois. That means to create. And as soon as you say to create, it denotes, it tells us, it wasn't here before, and it comes to be. What we know in Chassidus is to be known as yesh mi'ayin, ex nihilo, something from nothing. That's all implied in the word havaya. So when the Torah says, when the pasuk says ki shemesh u'mogein havaya elokim, yud kei vav kei elokim, Hashem elokim, this means So the Yud Kei Vav Kei is compared to the Shemesh, and the Elokim is compared to the Mogain, right? It says in the pasuk, Ki Shemesh u'Mogain Hashem Elokim. So the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the creative force of God, is analogous to the sun. How is it analogous? Explains Chassidus, and it's explained here as well, that creation can only be from Havaya. Creation cannot be from Elokim. From that force of God that's known as Elokim, we wouldn't have creation. Why not? Simple logic. Simple. What's the logic? Elokim is tzimtzum. Elokim is concealment and restraint. So how could it be that from a negative or a concealment there should be creation? Creation means proactivity, doing something positive. And here I'm holding back Elokim. So Chassidus says, you're right. Creation doesn't come from Elokim. It comes from Yud Kei Vav Kei. However, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Havaya, the creator, the creative force and power is too overwhelming, and it needs a shield. It needs a cover to tame it, to control it. That's Elokim. That's Elokim. And that's why the simile means the comparison. The simile between Hashem Elokim to Shemesh u'Mogain is very exact and precise. That's what we learned until now. Yes, Jonas.
What's the difference between the word bara and the habit?
What's the first? What's livroa? You said bara.
Bara is supposed to mean to create, and the habit means to create as well. Is there a difference between the two?
I'm not a linguistic, and I don't know 100%. The word bara, we translate Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning God created. Right? The Targum says on the pasuk in Bereshis, that I believe that's the Targum translation. It could be that, again, bara represents creation ex nihilo, yesh mi'ayin. The Ramban says that. Lahavos is the force of creator, even as he is before he is a creator of a created being. There is the concept of olamais before the tzimtzum. And there's also so I'm saying possibly, it could be the implication of the word lahavos is not, normally we use it for bria, like you said, but it could be that it really refers to even a creation of before bria sa'olam. The olamais ha'elyonim and Adam Kadmon and all those dargas. Maybe we would also use the word lahavos. Okay, let's learn inside page 204. V'hinei achdus haboirei yizbarech hu nireh v'niker b'chol hanivroim. The unity of Hashem is apparent and recognizable to all creatures. V'hainu kasher ha'odam izboinen. When is that, Velvel? It's very easy to say that. But, is it so? The Rebbe says it's so if. V'hainu. If. Kasher ha'odam izboinen ba'olam ha'olam ha'avrayim. If and when you will meditate, when man will meditate, reflect on the world he lives in, and Nivroyim and the creation, who roye ha'oir v'achayos aliki, he will not only believe, he will see the energy and the vitality, the godly energy and vitality. And he'll realize and see this energy creates and enlivens the world and its creatures. So the Rebbe starts alluding to here the concept of what we call memale kol almin. This doesn't require emunah. This is re'iyah, this is das, this is knowledge. And this is what he's going to explain now. Someone told me yesterday, or that a few days ago, I asked him how his father, who came from a traditional Sephardic background, became more religious. He said he was traveling from a country from where he came from, and he was coming to America or Canada, and he looked at the water as the ship was sailing, and he said, wait a minute, who made this? How is all this happening? And he said, it must be that there is a creator, a Boira Olam, and things don't happen just by chance. And that was the impetus for him when he landed to check into a shul and to start learning Torah. I mentioned this, Yonason, because the Rebbe says here, when you take the time to reflect on what's going on, it becomes very clear that there is a creator here. The issue is either we don't take the time or our reflection is in the wrong areas. But if you have the peace of mind and it's unadulterated with shtick and stupidity and all kinds of nonsense, it becomes clear when you look outside and the sun comes up in the morning that there's something greater than ourselves and the world we live in that makes it all come together. This is what he says here. Now he says, he explains himself, Ksiv, Mipsori Echzelaka, one of the most used verses in Chabad Chasidus. From my flesh, Mipsori Echze, I shall see Elika, godliness. If I look, Velvel, at my body, my flesh, and you're a doctor, you look at it every day, not your own flesh necessarily, but people who you treat, you will see that there is Elika. There is a force, there is a God. And just as a person knows and feels himself, what is the primary driving force that makes him alive? It's the energy and the force of the soul. The Rebbe adds here a very interesting parenthesis, Yonason. There's two concepts. Listen, Chaver, this is very important. There is the overall recognition that there is a force that makes me alive, but that doesn't yet mean the force is godly. There's a force. I think I told you, I recall about 25 years ago or so, I was walking with a college student home from Rabbi Ferris, Yehuda Ferris, who Yonis and I know. He's the shliach in Berkeley, California. He's such a special yid. And we're walking home to his house, and a college student, I think it was a girl, was walking along, and I start talking to her, and somehow the discussion is about God. So I said, do you believe in God? She says, no, God, no, I don't know if there's a God. So I said to her, do you believe in a force? Yes, a force, yes. You believe in an energy? Oh, yes. But God? Chas v'sholom, no. You know, in other words, fool, force, energy, God, it's all the same. But what we're learning here is, in a way, it's not the same. That's my point. It's not the same. Because that student is demonstrative of what we're learning here. There's a force, there's an energy, but I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know how holy it is. It's kind of part of a natural phenomenon. Plato and Aristotle, I believe, I'm not a philosopher, but from what I was told, they believe that as well. They believe that while the person is alive, there's a force and an energy that makes them live. When they die, they don't believe in immortality of the soul, because they never believe that the soul is godly. They believe that the soul is a force associated with the mind. So when the mind goes, the force goes. That's why the Rebbe says here in the parentheses that more than just believing, more than understanding that it's a force that gives life to the body, who margish, a person comes to the realization, a Jew who meditates and reflects, sha'achayas hu elikus, that this force isn't just a force, it's godliness. And as soon as you say it's godliness, it's eternal. And that's what Plato and Aristotle did not recognize and disagreed with. Because their version of a force was an aspect of humanity, of nature. And that's why the Frierdiker Rebbe adds here, and this is from other Maimorim, of course, beginning with the Alter Rebbe, it's not enough to use meditation and reflection to come to a conclusion that there's a force in the world that makes the world go. As that's a beginning, but it's not adequate. Because if that's the end all of your meditation and your understanding, then you don't come to the conclusion that the world is created by the Creator who's supernatural, Yudke Vovke, or in the Rebbe's words, Shahachayas hu elikus. No, the Chayas is not elikus, you could say. The Chayas is guf. There's two parts to the guf. There's the outer, the body, and there's the Chayas of the body, without associating that Chayas to elikus. So, and the Rebbe says that through avodah, it's a few short words here, but it's loaded, I'm telling you. Through avodah, through working and harving and putting effort in your meditation, hu margish, you will actually feel in a conscious way that the vitality and the force that sustains you is not just a bodily force, a natural force, but it's elikus, it's godliness. And this is, you could say, Yonasim, the chidush of Chabad meditation. You know, there are different systems, Velvel, of meditation. Years ago, Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan wrote a book, Jewish Meditation. And it was very popular, and it helped a lot of people. I'm not convinced, and I love Rabbi Kaplan's works, I mean, he's a genius. I'm not convinced that he went kind of to the depth, to the end, because his training was more in Breslov. I mean, he dabbled in Chabad. How could you not dabble in Chabad Hasidus? But I'm not sure that at the end he understood that the deepest meditation to impact the person in a way where the person gives up of themselves and realizes that he himself is only nature and it's all about the supernatural, that comes through this meditation. And it's not, you don't have to be a Chabad person to have this meditation. You can be any type of Yid. It's open for everyone. But it's the content and the mechanism and the particular thought process that ultimately leads a person to the realization that it's Elikus. And I heard this, Yodesin, from Mashpiyim, when I discussed with them this idea of meditation. This was the nutshell, and it's not an easy nutshell. It's a very difficult avodah, because leaving the arena of nature and mind to the arena of godliness is night and day. The jump from Seichel to Elikus is like Yesh Mi'ayin. I say like Yesh Mi'ayin. It's two different worlds. And Chassidus says, and the Rebbe says it here, that through avodah, through working hard with your mind, a person can come to a point where he ultimately lets go of the mind and allows the Elikus to become who he is. And if you think about this, then you say, how many Hasidim, how many Oivdei Hashem really came to this recognition in their lifetime? Then you understand why Lubavitchers aren't quick to compliment and give accolades and really believe in this person or that person, that they're a tzaddik. You know, in the world we live in, everyone is a tzaddik, and everyone's a beinanin, everyone is good, and everyone's holy. That's common talk. But real avodas Hashem is unique. Let's continue. Listen, there were chassidim that worked themselves to this. This isn't Yonason only a Rebbe. No, I disagree. If that's what you mean, I disagree. No, it's shayach for you and I, Yonason. Depending on how much avodas Hashem and avodas Hamoyach and His bonus we do, it can overtake us. That's my understanding from Chassidus. I know yesterday I was talking to a professor, a frum professor who learned in yeshiva and is very knowledgeable, and he said about someone else who we were talking about, he said that the person had ADD or ADHD, which is in the brain, and therefore they cannot control themselves. As I said, well, that contradicts what the Alter Rebbe says, Moyach Shalat al Alev, and he didn't answer me. I guess he believes that the Alter Rebbe is wrong, which is fine. But I don't. I believe the Alter Rebbe is right. I believe that the mind over matter can at least control and tame the lev to a certain degree. The Alter Rebbe teaches in Tanya, the urge is always there. That I agree with. But the control of the urge, the moyach shalit al alev. So the counter argument to that is that's when someone has a moyach that's functioning. But when you're in an addictive state, or he calls it in an ADD or ADHD state, you can't control your lev because your moyach is not functioning. So there's no moyach to be shalit al alev. Therefore, the lev is out of control. Yes, Yonason.
No, you're right. I mean, the Hasidus explain that the middle comes from the moyach.
Right.
That in the state of his totalus, it actually comes from the middle.
Yeah. Let's continue. Yes. After the parentheses, the fifth line. The The body itself, velvul, isn't anything at all. V'horaya, the proof is in the pudding, velvul. The b'tzeis hanefesh me'aguf. When the soul leaves the body, hagam sheyeshnam kol evorim b'shleimus, although all the limbs are there, umikol moken, nevertheless, ein harayin roya, the eye doesn't see, v'ein hapeh yochel adaber v'chulu, and the mouth can't speak, etc. He is dead. The body is dead. Hare, what does this prove? Ho'ikir boy, what is the primary aspect of the body? Hu chayusa, it is its vitality. Ukmoishu bi'odem, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, just that this is true by man. Hinimizeh yovin gamba oilam, so it's true in the macrocosm, in the world. Sheho'ikir hu ha'oir v'achayus oliki. The primary thing is the energy and the vitality that sustains the world, the godly energy, hamachayas ha'olim and Avroim, who sustains, who enlivens the world and its creatures. Kedisa be Ovis the Reb Nosson, as it says in Ovis the Reb Nosson, the Odam hu Eilam Kotten, man is a miniature world, and the Ho'ilam, and the world, who Guf Gadol, is a large body. Ukishem shebe Eilam Kotten haro ikir oir v'chayis, just as in this small world. The primary thing is the energy and the vitality. So too, Bahaguf Gadol, it's in the big goof. That what's the primary aspect of the big goof, i.e. the world, it's the chayas, the energy of Hashem, that's the main thing. And now he goes back to the last two words of the Shema, Hashem Echod. The Achdus HaBoiri Yisborech, the unity of the Creator, the Holy, blessed be He. Nikor Venira is recognized and observable, Bemuchish, in actuality, Bechol Anivroyim, in all creatures. Commission Mavur Baruch has explained that as explained elsewhere at great length, this is a concept. Going to stop here just to say, because tomorrow we'll continue, it's a new idea, and other people will come tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, that this idea is one of the most fundamental ideas in Chabad Hasidism. Here we have in about 10 lines, but there are pages upon pages of this concept in Likutei Torah and Torah Oyed, and in each of the Rabbeim's Maimorim, this is a fundamental nekuda. And I heard from Rabbi Pekarsky in Tel Aviv that there was a Farbrengen in the early 1970s, and Rabbi Yoel Kahn was Farbrengen, and he took a little l'chaim, and it was Yudalef Nissen, it was the Rebbe's Yom Meledis, and he was so animated that he started to he took his knuckle and he was banging in his forehead here, and he said, we have to learn Chassidus until this physical forehead will understand God. You understand? That's Rabbi Yoel Kahn, you know? But each of us, there's learning and there's learning. There's davening and there's davening. There's avodah and there's an avodah. And that's the gewaltigkeit of Chassidus, that it keeps you on your toes. To harav it, to have haravanya means diligence, effort in understanding the musogim, the ideas, as you know, they say in America, it's what do they call it? Bread and butter, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like whatever we eat and whatever it comes to us natural. The same way we should understand Chassidus. Okay, everyone, have a great day. We'll learn tomorrow. Sei gesund. Bye bye.